Welcome to the Using the UCR Core Competencies video. This material is intended for individuals who are participating in the Performance Appraisal Pilot Project. The topics covered will include a definition of competency, an overview of the UCR core competencies, how to identify competencies related to your position, how to create goals using competencies, and competency resources. There are a lot of competency models out there and a lot of definitions for the word competency. The University of California uses this definition for a competency: the capability to apply or use a set of related knowledge, skills, and abilities required to successfully perform a core job responsibility. Think of it in this way. Job descriptions list tasks for which a position is responsible. Things like program development, conducting financial analysis, providing customer service, etc. It is what the job has been created to do. Competencies describe how the tasks are to be carried out. What behaviors are demonstrated? What attitudes are being displayed as work is getting done? Program development might require the competency of collaboration. Financial analysis might require the competency of problem solving. And customer service will no doubt require the competency of communication. The University of California first developed a set of competencies in 2011 and then revised these competencies in 2020. UC Riverside has adopted these core competencies as their own. What is meant by core competencies? The competencies selected as core reflect observable behaviors that have a direct and positive impact on individual and organizational success. They reflect the mission, vision, and values of the University of California, and they form the cornerstone of staff development and performance. That is why they are an integral part of the performance development program. When used in a performance development program, the UCR core competencies provide a common framework to describe effective performance. Let's take a closer look at the competencies. One of the easiest ways to remember the competency model is to put them into buckets. And what's easier to remember than the ABCs? All of the UCR core competencies are placed in one of three categories or buckets: achieving results, building relationships, and creating the future. It's important to note that the categories and the titles for the competencies were chosen in a very thoughtful, purposeful, and deliberate manner, with a significant amount of discussion. The work group that recently revised the competency model strived to develop a model that is accessible and easy to understand for all UC staff employees. For each competency, a definition is provided, with core behavioral anchors on the left that apply to each staff employee. If one is a leader or manager of staff at UCR, the behavioral anchors on the right are added. These behavioral anchors are by no means an exhaustive list of all the behaviors that could represent a particular competency, and simply reflect core behaviors related to the competency. In the performance development program, both supervisors and employees are asked to identify competencies that are related to the employee's position. Let's look at how that's done. When identifying position-relevant competencies, or put another way, competencies that relate to the position, ask these three questions. Which competencies align with the work? Which competencies have the most impact on the work? And which competencies would support professional development? Think of the acronym AID: Align, Impact, Develop. Here's an example. After collaboration with their supervisor, a financial analyst has agreed that one of their goals for the fall quarter will be to create a financial process based on new guidelines that have been issued by the Office of the President. Competencies that align with this goal might be problem solving, as the new guidelines will have to be adapted to existing processes. A competency with the most impact on the task might be collaboration. Involving the right stakeholders in the development of the process could be key in getting users to adopt the new process. And finally, a competency that supports professional development might be continuous learning, as the new guideline will offer an opportunity to practice a new skill or build on current financial knowledge. Each employee brings a unique set of knowledge, skills, and abilities to a task. So the competencies that make sense for one individual might look very different for someone else doing the very same thing. It is important that supervisors have a solid understanding of the knowledge, skills, and abilities of their employees in order to identify the competencies that will support success in goal completion. Likewise, employees should be able to give themselves an honest self-assessment of their knowledge, skills, and abilities as it applies to a particular task. In this way, both supervisor and employee can focus on competencies that will support success. In addition to identifying relevant competencies based on job responsibility goals, the supervisor and employee may want to create a competency goal. Remember, the job responsibility goal reflects what needs to be done. The competency goal will reflect how it is done. In the previous example, collaboration was identified as the competency that would have the most impact on goal success. So it makes sense to create a competency goal for collaboration. The goal might look something like this. Convene and lead a work group comprised of key stakeholders to use the expertise and various viewpoints in the creation of the new process. This might lead to a professional development goal. In this case, the goal offered an opportunity to develop skills in leading and working with teams. There are several excellent resources available that give you more information about the competencies and suggestions for development in each competency area. On the pilot participants site, you will find a document entitled Competencies, Activities, and Learning. By competency, this document provides a multitude of suggestions for on-the-job development and suggested LinkedIn learning resources. It is highly recommended that you review this document. It will provide you with a deeper understanding of each competency and how they can be used for professional development. Remember, the UCR core competency model and the UC core competency model are identical. So even though the document is branded as Office of the President, it is applicable to UC Riverside. You may also want to visit the UCR Human Resources Core Competency site. There you will find the links to the Transferable Skills Library and the Employee and Organizational Development Catalog with competencies identified for each course. Last word about professional development. There might be occasions when a competency is identified solely for the purposes of professional development and not necessarily associated with a specific job responsibility goal. That's perfectly fine. In cases where an employee and supervisor are collaborating on career growth for the employee, they may want to set competency goals to help prepare the employee for the next step. Thank you for taking the time to view the Using the UCR Core Competencies video.